News Talk 640 WFNC. We're glad to have you there for The Affair. We do it every morning and every Tuesday about this time. Kirk DeViere, the chairman of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, joins us live in Studio One to talk about things of importance to all the residents here in Cumberland County. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. It's always great to be here.
You've got a number of things that we've been chatting about that we can possibly talk about. Let's start off with the Aquatic Center and where we are on that project.
Yeah, so great. So we're moving that project forward. Yesterday at our board meeting, we approved a consultant for the feasibility study, LS3P, was approved for that feasibility study. And really, so we look at what this, a lot of people say, well, what does the feasibility study mean? You know, do you know where it's going to go? Do you know? It's really focused on three purposes. So first and foremost, how are we going to program it? So what's going to go there? Is it going to be, you know, community type recreational activities like you see in a Hoke County, or you're going to have more of a regional competition approach driven by tourism? So we're going to have this collegiate and high school events. And so, you know, one, we got to look at how we're going to program it. So there'll be some studies around that. And then how are we going to pay for it? So financing, who are our partners, who's going to participate in it? There's a lot of different funding models out there that we can look at to do it. So that would be part of it as well. And then, of course, the location. You know, once you program it, where's going to be the best location for it? And so we'll get some recommendations on that. Look forward to the community engagement part of this, the stakeholder engagement as part of this feasibility study. So hopefully we'll see that begin to start here over the next short period of time as well.
You know, when you start talking about where is it going to be located, there's limited access in terms of the infrastructure being in different locations. You see it in the Fayetteville area, close to the Fayetteville area, as opposed to up in Godwin or Eastover or something like that.
I mean, again, I don't want to prescribe where we think it's going to go, or, you know, but I think when you look at the major corridors, if this is going to be something that's going to drive, you know, that's going to be a tourism driver as well, and we're going to have competitions regionally and potentially, you know, across multiple states, you know, it's something you're going to have access probably around the 95, you know, 295 corridor as we look at those. But, you know, we'll see what makes sense. You know, we spoke about the Crown Corridor, the airport corridor. You know, there's opportunities in and around that as you look at 95 and, you know, east of the river. So we'll see what comes back from the consultant.
Speaking of water stuff, we have water district issues and concerns there. How are we coming with that?
Yeah, so if you recall, we talked about we were in the process of forming 2 water districts, and these water districts are really just planning. They're allowing us to plan what needs to happen, and it's really focused on how do we clean up the contaminated water, how do we ensure we provide safe, reliable, regulated drinking water within these districts. So the first one that we looked at, we just recently had a public meeting, a town hall, for the East Central Water District, which is out towards Stedman. And so we held it in Stedman on the end of March. I think it was on the 31st of March we held it. About 60, 70 people there. So it was good dialogue explaining what a district is. And it's really creating a water district is just a planning step. It's not a spending step. There's no dollars or anything like that. It's just it's a way to organize so we can begin to look at the assets in the area, how we can best solve the issues that are in the area, and then how we can look to bring resources. We're also looking to put together a Cedar Creek district, which we're having a meeting on that on April 28th down at Savannah Missionary Baptist Church. Then that'll cover kind of the Cedar Creek areas. We begin to look at a district out there and begin to look at those issues. So this is just our board's way of, you know, over the years, been a lot of talk about water and how we need to move infrastructure across the community. This is the action now, and the logical steps that we need to put in place to be able to get clean, safe, regulated drinking water out to our community, but also set the framework for, you know, other infrastructure as well, like sewer and those types of things. And that first step is getting these districts together.
Yeah, and I would think the Cedar Creek area is really important because of the Comores issue and the wells that have been contaminated.
Yep.
It looks like that contamination is spreading a little bit as well. So I'm sure the county commissioner is very concerned about water in those districts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, a lot of talk over the years. Now it's time to, you know, nobody's going to help us but ourselves. And so this is a step to start helping us. We've got to get these districts in place. We've got to look at, you know, one thing that the consent order put in place with Comores over the years is, you know, they have to, if there's a public water connection, permanent water connection, they're responsible to pay for that connection to the house. So if there is public water, in these locations, then we can work to facilitate getting clean, safe, regulated drinking water to these homes.
And we're talking about just a couple of 100 homes in that sparsely
Oh, there's a lot
populated.
of homes
Is
out there.
is it more than a couple
Oh, I
hundred?
mean, in last count, there was over 6,000 homes that were contaminated, and that was probably, that's probably a year-old data at this point. In every time they measure those contaminations, and they find it, they're required by law, by the consent order, to now expand it out further, and so they got to continue testing. And if you recall, they were also compelled. Comores was also compelled to now go back and retest some of the houses based on the changes to the standards that were done a couple years ago, and so now they had to go out and retest. So there's a lot of, I think, another piece of this district, formation is also education. So out talking to the community about, what's available to them when it comes to relief from the contamination that may have been caused by, the contamination from Comores.
And I live out in Vander, and I think PwC's line, when I moved there back in 2015, that was like the end of the line just before you got to Cape Fear High School in terms of housing areas that were able to get PwC connections. And if you're saying that Comores could be liable or responsible for connection, that's a great saver for homes to be able to connect if we can get the water out to those areas.
Consent order is really clear. If there's contamination of this level and it's tied back to the specific, chemical, then it's $75,000 towards hookup fees.
Where are we in terms of April was I think the month we're supposed to be talking about the water being taken from the Cape Fear over into Fuquay and then dumped into the Neuse River as a water basin as opposed to putting back. Are we close to a
Yeah, so the
decision
next
there?
step in this process would be the Environmental Management Commission will make a ruling on it. My understanding is they'll do one more public hearing on this and then look to make a decision on it. So we anticipate something probably in the May timeframe. So it'll be interesting to see that. Again, hats off to the community that really came together, especially here locally. At the hearing that was done here, that really came out and spoke against it, and just the amount of write-in online submissions that people have done as well, and as well as PwC has really led that charge, and so I appreciate the work of Tim Bryan and his team, his comms team over there at PwC, the work that they've done to educate and advocate.
This is not our first rodeo when it comes to this. We've had this happen in the past, and state regulators sided with us, and we were able to get water put back in. We're hoping that's the decision this time.
But think about it. I mean, think about this statewide drought that we're in right now. Think about the impact. If you're taking water out of our river, out of Cape Fear, not putting it back in the same basin, we're going to have issues. It just doesn't make logical sense.
All right, let's talk about the parking situation with the Cumberland County courthouse. There's some relief on the way. Is it Gillespie Street?
I laugh. I said this yesterday. I was talking to a group yesterday, and I said, if you'd asked me 2 years ago if talking about courthouse parking would have been on my bingo card, I would have said no, and I would have kind of laughed about it. But it's something that we inherited with 200 parking spaces that were that were removed from the parking situation at the courthouse. And so right now what's happening is we know we still need, between 100 and 200 spots on there, including the additional capacity of the parking in and around the courthouse. And you got to think, Gilbert, this courthouse parking is not only the public, which is extremely important, but it's also the county employees, but also all the judicial employees. And then you think about the judicial employees, it's also all of the jurors and everything else that are coming, for the courts. So we've done a couple things recently over the last 30 days. We're in the process. So we're setting up some temporary parking on the Gillespie Street lot. So you'll see some activity out there. It'll be a temporary lot. We're not putting asphalt down. We're putting down some temporary kind of surfacing to make sure that we can have parking out there. We're going to get about 100 slots on the Gillespie Street lot. So that'll be on the front side of the courthouse. We're just going to make that an employee parking lot. And what that will do is that will move some of the employees that are parking in the regular parking lot on the back side of the courthouse or front side, depending on how you look at it, but where most people park, it will move them to the front side of the courthouse in the Gillespie Street lot, allow some additional capacity on that back side. And then additionally, we've added some dedicated juror spots. So if you are a juror that has been seated, we, working with the judicial system, have laid out some dedicated spots for them to make sure that when they're coming in for jury duties, they're not trying to find a spot. They've got a dedicated spot. So those are a couple ways right now. We know we probably still need to do a few other things, but we want to get that in place and then kind of see where the battlefield is, see where the conditions are, and what else we need to do.
Well, and that brings us to the next point here. What is the future of that area, and what's the planning right now as you see it?
Yeah, and again, we're still, we're thankful to have Robert Van Giens, and he's working. There's a couple different economic development options for that lot. Hopefully we're going to see those. Thought they would come forward in April, but like everything else, it takes a little while to put together things. And so I think we'll see some things come back to us in May. But I do believe that any opportunity that's going to happen on that lot, parking is going to be a component of it, whether it's surface level parking or some type of deck parking, to ensure that we've got the capacity in and around the courthouse with a project like that. So look forward to being able to talk more about those opportunities publicly.
The fact that space is there is because we didn't put the event center that's there. So where are we on the arena renovations and the things with the theater out on Gillespie Street?
Really excited about the opportunity. And I got to tell you, I've spent, Saturday night was down in the arena again with Liberty basketball. I mean, just a great family fun activity. A lot of life happening in that arena right now, but it also, as I looked around that, there's so much opportunity that's there. And so I'm continue to be excited about what we're doing out in the theater and the arena. We're in the final selection process for our construction manager at risk, and that'll be the final piece of our project team that'll come together. So we've got a local architect in Schuler Ferris Lindstrom. We've got our SFLA, as they go by now. We've got an owner's rep in place. OVG is going to be a part of the project team. We've got our county staff, of course, will be part of the project team. Team from the Crown Commission as well, and we'll put together that. We'll have a pre-planning meeting or a planning meeting, hopefully once we get the CMAR in place at the end of April. So end of April, early May, we'll do a pre-planning conference that will really speak to the programming around what we need to do there, begin to lay the groundwork. But I'm excited to see the timeline as it gets laid down after this pre-planning conference. So great things happening out there. The key thing is, how are we going to program it?
All right, last topic of discussion right now, Cumberland County Schools. They've got a plan in place, and you guys had a look at it? Where are we on that?
So we've just seen what they voted on. Our next steps are, my hopes is, like we did last year, we would have a joint meeting where we would lay out. So if you recall, they showed us some of their needs last year. We went ahead and committed $300 million of deferred maintenance plus $160 million for new construction. What they've done now is, through this repurposing and consolidation, is they've given us a plan on when they need those dollars and how they would do this. They've also looked, and just looking at their plan, they're asking for about another $150 million. Our hope is by the end of April, early May, before they vote on their budget, we'll have a joint meeting where we can have a dialogue about that. Let them, show us how they're going to use the dollars, how they're going to program the dollars, when they need those dollars, and where they're going to go. And then we'll move into our budget. And I think you'll have a board that is committed to education being a priority, and we'll look to hopefully fund the needs of the schools.
All right. Kirk DeVilliers, Cumberland County Commissioners, chairman of the board. We appreciate you coming every Tuesday, 7:35, to bring us up to date on what's happening as far as county residents are concerned. All right. Right now, we've got Fayetteville's most dependable forecast with CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsey.
Tuesday will be partly cloudy and warm with a high of 89. Overnight will be mostly clear with a low of 63, and Wednesday will be mostly sunny with a high of 93. It is going to stay hot and rain-free this week, with temperatures well in the 90s through the weekend. A cold front arrives Sunday, and it will bring a few showers and then cooler temperatures for next week. That is your Fayetteville forecast. I'm CBS 17 meteorologist Rachel Dunsey.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. Right now, 68 degrees in Fayetteville, Hope Mills, and also at Fort Bragg. You're listening to News